Here we have a Henry repeating rifle, an early model firearm known for its distinct rounded toe on the butt plate. The frame has developed a nice patina, indicating that it hasn't been altered or restored. Collectors love original finishes like this because they add to the historical value. Henry rifles were revolutionary for their time, offering rapid-fire capabilities compared to traditional muskets. This particular model was likely produced in the 1860s, making it a valuable piece of American history. During the Civil War, Henry rifles were prized by Union soldiers for their speed and reliability. Unlike single-shot firearms, this lever-action rifle allowed for multiple shots before needing to reload. The Henry Repeating Arms Company was founded by Benjamin Tyler Henry in 1860 in New Haven, Connecticut. One of the biggest challenges early on was convincing the military to adopt repeating rifles over traditional muzzle loaders. Despite initial resistance, the Henry rifle's performance in battle proved its worth, paving the way for modern lever-action firearms. At auction, this gun could easily fetch a value of $20,000 to $25,000. Today we have a Turner rifle, a rare firearm with a fascinating Civil War history. The guest's grandfather, a competitive shooter from Montana, acquired it when a recently widowed woman nearly tossed it into the Ohio River. Recognizing its value, he stepped in and saved it, ensuring this incredible piece of history was preserved. Turner rifles were used by German immigrant athletic societies, which later played a crucial role in the Union Army. These groups, known as Turner Societies, adapted their civilian target rifles for combat.
And many of them they had modified. The primary adaptation was the addition of the bayonet bar on the side of the barrel near the muzzle.
The 9th Ohio and 17th Missouri regiments, composed entirely of German immigrants, marched to war with these weapons. This particular rifle likely originated from Cincinnati and was almost certainly crafted by Henry Sabert, a German gunsmith active in the 1850s. Henry Sabert ran the Buckeye Gun Shop in Cincinnati from 1856 to 1858, producing high-quality firearms for local shooters. One of his biggest challenges was competing with larger, more established gun makers in a rapidly industrializing America. Despite this, his craftsmanship stood out, and many of his rifles, like this one, found their way into Civil War battles. The bayonet attached to this rifle is especially rare, featuring the Turner motto "Bahn frei," meaning clear the way. Even more remarkable, this one is marked by Rudolf Hug, a Cincinnati cutler.
And Rudolf Hug was a Cincinnati-based cutler and dental instrument maker. And when the Civil War broke out, he also produced bayonets for these rifles.
Only 9 or 10 Hug-marked bayonets are known to exist, making this piece an incredibly scarce find.
Very conservative auction estimate on this set at between $4,000 and $6,000.
That's amazing.
A few years ago, the market was a little hotter. Maybe 10 years ago, this would have been $8,000 to $10,000.
This guy came up with a Federal-era flintlock pistol, originally thought to be from the 13 Colonies era. His father-in-law is passing it down to him, having himself inherited it.
But he's inheriting it to me, and his father had found it in the 1930s in the Chicago area.
The stylized folk art eagle with 13 stars links it to Halbach & Sons.
Is attributed to Halbach & Sons of Baltimore.
Halbach. Okay.
They went into business sometime right around the end of the Revolution, circa 1785 to the 1820s.
The design suggests it was made around 1790, possibly as late as 1810.
Certainly before the War of 1812.
Wow.
These pistols are classified as secondary martial firearms, military style, but never officially contracted by the US government. Instead, officers at the time had to buy their own weapons, making this a likely personal sidearm. Halbach & Sons struggled to gain military contracts, competing against larger firms with established government ties. This pistol has some condition issues, like a missing fore-end cap and ramrod, but remains an untouched collector's dream. Serious collectors prefer original, unaltered firearms, even with minor imperfections.
Auction market, this gun is going to bring somewhere in the $4,000 to $6,000 range. It might bring a little bit more, but that's probably where that gun's going to sell.
That's amazing.
Here we have a Colt single-action army revolver, a legendary firearm tied to the Wild West. The guest's grandfather found it on his ranch in the 1920s while with Brigham Hamilton.
With him, and this man was a member of Butch Cassidy's gang at one time.
Brigham Hamilton believed the outlaws carried extra pistols in their saddlebags, since they often lost their holstered ones while fleeing posses. The revolver is in good conditions, featuring carved initials that appear to match the guest's grandfather. However, research on its serial number reveals that the gun was actually manufactured in 1903. This creates a timeline issue, as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid fled to South America in 1901, marking the end of their gang's raids.
Oh, okay.
And the last recorded raid of the gang was in July of 1901.
The Colt single-action army, first introduced in 1873, became the most iconic revolver of the American West. Despite declining demand in the early 20th century, Colt continued producing these revolvers, adapting to civilian and military markets. The original Colt factory, established in Hartford, Connecticut, faced financial struggles but remained a major firearms manufacturer. While the revolver isn't directly tied to the outlaw gang, it remains a fascinating historical piece.
But as such, I still feel that at auction, this revolver would bring about $1,500 to $2,000.
Okay. Wow.
If the story was correct, I would say that the gun could have probably been worth $5,000 and upwards.
Oh, wow.
Here we have a 19th century Japanese matchlock rifle and a ceremonial samurai helmet, both rich in history and family heritage. The guest's grandmother brought back 9 matchlock rifles and various antiques from Japan after World War II. As a child, the guest chose a plain rifle over the more ornate gold-inlaid ones, inspired by Davy Crockett. Alongside the rifle, he inherited a family heirloom, a ceremonial samurai helmet passed down from father to eldest son. Research confirms that both items date back to the mid-19th century, a time of great transformation in Japan. The Meiji Restoration of 1868 marks the end of the samurai era, replacing the feudal system with a centralized imperial government. Samurai families, once powerful warriors, had to adapt as Japan rapidly modernized to compete with Western nations. Traditional craftsmen who once made armor and weapons shifted to creating decorative and artistic pieces. The helmet, once worn in ceremonial displays, features the guest's family crest.
But the helmet would have been just part of a larger suit of armor.
Despite minor damage, it remains a striking symbol of his ancestral lineage and Japan's feudal past. Both the rifle and helmet hold immense sentimental and historical value, making them irreplaceable family treasures.
I would say that you should insure these two together for probably around $4,000, maybe $5,000.
Okay,
that's
very nice.
Somewhere in there.
Very nice.
Today we have a rare Overland Mail Company stagecoach shotgun. This shotgun was owned by the guest's great-great-grandfather, George Washington Boyd. Boyd led an adventurous life. After joining the Mormon Church, he traveled with the Mormon Battalion.
He then started working for the Overland Mail Company, both as a stagecoach guard and as a station master.
His job as a stagecoach guard required a reliable weapon, and this shotgun was his trusted companion. The shotgun itself is likely from Birmingham, England, dating back to the 1840s. It bears the mark of A.J. Plate, a well-known San Francisco firearms dealer, notorious for winning a legal battle against Henry Derringer. A.J. Plate likely sold this gun to the Overland Mail Company, which branded it to prevent theft. The Overland Mail Company was the first stagecoach service in the West, transporting mail and passengers across dangerous territory. Most surviving stagecoach guns are marked for Wells Fargo, making this Overland Mail shotgun an incredibly rare find. While standard versions of this firearm are common, authentic stagecoach-marked examples are almost non-existent. Its direct connection to the Overland Mail Company and the guest's family history adds significant value.
But I think with your family history and such, stamped Overland Mail Company, that the gun would be worth at least $3,000 at auction, if not more.
All right, thank you very much.
Featured on the show is a 4-volume set of books titled The Canterbury Tales. This set was inherited by the guest from his father.
They were just always on a bookshelf. Didn't think much about them, but I knew they were important, and I brought them.
Published by the Golden Cockerel Press, it is renowned for its beautiful illustrations, which are evident in these volumes. It took years, from 1929 to 1931, to produce this set, utilizing handmade paper and hand-set type. The set also features cloth binding with darkened and tanned leather. The condition of this set is exceptional, and it is considered a classic work of the arts and crafts movement. It is estimated to be worth,
I would say in a retail store, this would be $4,000 to $5,000 at a minimum.
But my father had that knack of buying things cheap and hanging on to them.
He'd be happy with us?
Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah.
Showcased today is a refined and classic wristwatch. Our guest stumbled upon this remarkable find while exploring his great-grandfather's collection. According to the Longines Registry, this remarkable piece was produced in 1938. It's a unique single-button chronograph watch bearing the dual branding of Longines and Cuervo y Sobrinos. Cuervo y Sobrinos, a celebrated name in watchmaking, was founded by Ramon Fernandez Cuervo and his nephews in 1882.
They were actually the exclusive importers of Longines for the country of Cuba.
The missing straps and minor wear do not diminish this treasure's value. This exceptional timepiece, untouched and unpolished, has preserved its original splendor and would have an auction estimate of...
It'll bring between $30,000 to $50,000 at auction.
Wow, that is incredible.
Holding what he tags a treasure for 30 years, this guest traded a Civil War newspaper for this exquisite piece. This sterling silver and mixed metals inkwell is a fine example of Tiffany Company's craftsmanship designed under Edward C. Moore's directorship. It features intricate details like copper and brass bugs.
Then you have bits on the leaves that are partially copper and silver, and it's a really very fine example.
And some numbers on the underside, indicating its date and design order.
The number on the underside, the first set of numbers, which begins with a 4, is an indication of the date. And the second set of numbers is an indication of the design order.
Moore's influence from Japanese art is evident in this 1876 creation. The inkwell's design and historical significance make it a standout piece. In a retail setting in today's market, this exquisite piece would command a fee of...
This would sell for between $6,000 and $8,000.
Really? Wow. $160 trade wasn't a bad deal.
The Civil War newspaper.
Yeah.
This antique Caucasian Genja rug is a true gem that's rich in history. The guest received this rug from her godmother. Upon acquisition, this rug was professionally cleaned. Identified as a Genja rug from the Southeast Caucasus, its distinctive features are undeniable.
Genja is an area in the Southeast Caucasus. It's very close to where the Kazakh rugs are made.
It's notable for its multicolored selvage and unique barber pole striped bands.
In this case, enclosing pears or botte patterns.
It also showcases an ivory rosette border. Dating back to the late 19th century, this rug exclusively uses vegetable dyes and is in fine condition. This rug, a testament to the rich cultural heritage and exquisite craftsmanship of the Caucasus region, at retail would be valued at...
It would be $6,500.
Wow.
So,
yay.
Many thanks for bringing it in, and I'm
Thank
glad
you
you didn't
much.
sell it for $200.
Me too.
Acquired in 1965 at a silent auction, this beautiful painting by Selden Gile is a work of art. Selden Gile, a prominent Northern California artist, painted this in 1932. He was part of the Group of Six, influenced by the modern movements from the 1915 Panama Pacific Exhibition. Giles' work is characterized by strong colors and sinuous rhythms, reflecting the Fauvist style, and this particular painting, dated and signed, reflects those characteristics.
And that's Connor Gile 32, so this is 1932 it's painted.
The painting was done in watercolor, a technique wherein the paints are made of pigments suspended in a water-based solution. Giles was also known for his social gatherings and artistic collaborations.
And he was very popular amongst his friends because he was also a bit of a chef and a great host. They used to have a place in the Oakland Hills called the Chow House.
This painting's provenance and artistic significance add to its value, and in a retail setting, it would be sold for...
At auction, probably $5,000 to $8,000.
Oh my goodness.
There are oil paintings, and there are oil paintings. This beautiful painting by Clarence Millet is one of the rare but extremely magnificent oil paintings you'll see. Unlike other paintings that represent landscape, this one depicts a gate. Clarence is quite the name when it comes to drawing great oil paintings. This is a great depiction of the Impressionist style of painting, and it was created in 1930, which was during Clarence's early years.
So it really mimics the colors in the painting. It certainly works well together. It is Jackson Square. We have the cathedral in the background.
This oil painting is magnificent, and if it were to sell at auction, it would fetch a price of...
If we were going to put this painting at auction, the estimate would be $8,000 to $12,000.
Okay. Wow.
This is the self-portraits of self-portraits, and it represents Russian artistry at its pinnacle, thanks to this painting's ravishing look. The contrast in color particularly makes this portrait appealing. It is an oil on canvas, and it's framed. The painting was drawn in 1925 by Russian artist Nikolai Fechin.
And during that period, he was painting portraits, for which he was very well known, and also teaching. And that, I suspect, is where your grandmother...
Nikolai's style of painting was quite famous because, in contrast to painting the figure itself first,
he had a very distinctive style. He painted with a palette knife and his thumb. He was a very hands-on painter.
He would start by painting the background so as to allow the details to be evident. This beautiful portrait at auction would retail at the price of...
At auction, I would estimate it between $60,000 and $80,000.
Whoa.
It's often said that pictures evoke certain nostalgic emotions. This photograph by Louis Hine fits quite perfectly into that statement. The photograph is titled Spinner and Foreman in Georgia Cotton Mill. These photographs were taken by Louis during his freelance days.
Hine starts freelancing as the National Child Labor Committee staff photographer. We see the young girl who's kind of being towered over.
And they were to depict the harsh working condition of people working in industries. This was one of the early show of child labor, and it was well shown in the picture. If this photograph was to auction today, it would retail for nothing less than
$2,000 to upwards of $60,000 at public auctions.
Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Given to the guest as a present by a very dear friend, this jug is a pleasing sight to behold. Made by a man more famous for his paintings, Pablo Picasso. Picasso was a Spanish painter, sculptor, printmaker, and ceramicist. This jug was made circa 1952 via a collaboration with Madura Pottery and has Edition Picasso 181/300 on the underside to show how many pieces were created. Still in good condition and with its provenance, this jug is valued at...
It's probably worth around $5,000 now.
Oh my gosh.
In good condition, a great form. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's really great.
This guest has a remarkable collection of about 500 pens. Over 25 to 30 years, the guest's husband amassed this impressive collection. Among the collection, a set of Waterman pens is what she brought to the show, as they stand out for their unique history.
They are Waterman pens, very famous company that began in 1884, who made high-quality writing instruments for many, many years.
These pens were a gift from Amelia Earhart to her husband on May 20, 1932. Amelia Earhart was an American aviation pioneer. On that date, Amelia set the record for the first solo female transatlantic flight.
She took off from Newfoundland and she landed a little short of 15 hours later in Northern Ireland.
The pens are intricately engraved, featuring her plane and Neptune, the god of the sea. Their historical significance, along with the 14-karat gold, makes them highly valuable. In today's secondary auction market, these pens could fetch a price of...
would bring between $15,000 and $20,000.
My.
This extraordinary award tells of a rich family history. It was given to the guest's great-grandfather, who was the president of the American Brewers Association. Manufactured by the Whiting Silver Company
in Attleboro, Massachusetts. And the inscription on the medallion on the front is inscribed 1879.
The inscriptions written on the piece are done to appreciate the guest's great-grandfather for his great duty.
And it says, presented to our worthy president by the members of the United States Brewers Association.
Around the body of the piece are also great brewer figures and a medallion, which are quite well carved and beautiful. The piece is an épergne, known for its extravagant decorative appeal. The value of this award is boosted by its sterling make, historical significance, and brewing memorabilia status. Today, this exceptional trophy is valued at a figure of...
I would expect it to realize in the $12,000 to $15,000 range.
That's impressive.
Look closely at this figurine's serene expression and intricate attire. This figurine was inherited by the guest from her mother. It is a Chinese polychrome decorated stucco figure that originally resided in a temple.
Within a temple, accompanied by a row of other similar figures, each representing either a real person or symbolic of a figure such as Guanyin or some other figure. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
Crafted from thick clay mixed with straw, the piece was molded and then hand sculpted. The relief parts were painted with various pigments, including gold. We can discern a line near the figure's head, indicating it had been replaced.
There certainly have been things that have transpired in the life of this object that have changed it from the original appearance.
And there are slight irregularities visible on its hands, also suggesting replacements. It isn't surprising that this piece has incurred wear and undergone replacements, as it dates back to the 13th to 15th century. Despite its wear, this figurine remains a significant artifact of Chinese history and is estimated to be worth...
In an auction sale, I believe this would realize somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 at auction.
Thank you.
Our guest brought in an extraordinary artifact today. He procured it from a friend in financial straits. This stunning piece is a beautifully crafted sword, a true masterpiece. Intricate green and blue enamel work adorns this piece. Extravagance knows no bounds on this piece, lavishly decorated with diamonds.
They're nice bright diamonds. You've got some large rose diamonds.
This ornate piece bears the imperial monogram of Nicholas II, the illustrious Russian monarch. The remarkable item is in great condition, with some minor condition issues.
Likely. Now, there's some condition issues, as you see. The whole silver and enamel portion at this end is missing, and you've got a little damage to the end. Do you remember what you paid for it back in the...
Yeah, well, yes, I paid $500 when I bought it from him. I believe he told me he paid $300 for it when he first picked it up.
Given its rarity and uniqueness, this magnificent piece would have an auction value of...
A conservative price might be $75,000 to $100,000. Whoa!
Our guest exhibited a diamond and platinum ring, which she inherited. It is a marquise-cut diamond and platinum ring with an elongated shape and pointed ends. This cut not only maximizes the carat weight, but also creates the illusion of a larger size. Dating back to the 1950s, the ring features a fancy-colored diamond at its center. Made with rare stones, this exquisite piece of jewelry is estimated to be worth...
Would sell for between $40,000 and $60,000.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Is that what you expected to hear?
No.
No.
Display today is a magnificent antique violin. Our guest inherited this beautiful piece from her grandmother. This exquisite piece is credited to the iconic Johannes Baptist Cerruti, a prominent violin maker of the 18th and early 19th centuries. A delicately carved scroll adorns the tip of the violin. The F-hole design showcases the unmistakable hallmark of Italian craftsmanship, a level of quality that is consistently replicated throughout the length of the violin.
And as it approaches the corners, it actually scoops out. Typical Italian style, without a doubt.
This classic piece, believed to have been crafted between 1810 and 1820, is in great condition and would have an auction value of...
I'd give it an estimate of between $18,000 and I'd probably say $26,000, somewhere in that range at auction.
Wow, wonderful.
Suzanne brought a beautiful piece of embroidery to the antique show, a needlework created in 1817 by her great-great-grandmother, Maria Kugel. The piece is really impressive with its intricate details, rich colors, and the fact that it was done on silk fabric. Upon closer inspection, it is recognized as an extraordinary piece due to its age, excellent condition, and unique design, far exceeding typical samples seen on the show. Further research conducted revealed some fascinating details about the needlework's provenance. Suzanne wasn't actually Maria Kugel's great-great-granddaughter. There were several generations unaccounted for in the family tree. Additionally, the design of the embroidery itself turned out to be one of a kind, with no printed patterns resembling its layout. This unique composition, coupled with the drapery style unlike anything seen before, further solidified the needlework's extraordinary status. Considering these factors, the estimated value is to be
of around $40,000 to $50,000.
Oh my.
For insurance purposes, I would go $50,000 to $70,000.
Oh my, okay.
Have you ever come across such a fascinating jewelry box? The guest received it from a friend who was cleaning out her attic. The box's unique appearance, with inscriptions in an unfamiliar language, piqued the guest's curiosity. She wondered if it might have originated from Russia. Not only was the box Russian, but it was crafted by the renowned silversmith named Klebnikov, placing it in the company of prestigious works by Fabergé. Dating back to 1912, the jewelry box showcased exquisite craftsmanship. Some intricate details about the box include the silver material, the colorful enamel work, the sparkling gemstones, and the double-headed eagle motifs, a symbol of the Russian Empire. Considering its prestigious origin, age, and the artistry evident in every detail, the estimated value of the jewelry box is a remarkable
between $10,000 and $15,000.
Oh my God.
However, a recent appraisal saw the value of this same jewelry box increase to $70,000 to $90,000. This fascinating punch bowl was inherited from the guest's father-in-law, who acquired it at an auction 30 years ago. The inscription in German was a mystery to her, but it was deciphered through the help of some professionals. It revealed the punch bowl to be a birthday gift presented to Charles Hexamer, the president of the National German-American Alliance, in 1912. The punch bowl was a collaborative effort between a German-American artist, Hans Schuler, and a renowned American silversmith, Samuel Kirk. The artist was known for his public monuments, and interestingly, the punch bowl itself depicted the 45 states and the District of Columbia that were part of the German-American Alliance at the time. The inscription about the states offered a clue about the reason the punch bowl might have been buried. The German-American Alliance disbanded after World War I due to rising anti-German sentiment. Burying the punch bowl could have been a way to protect it during a time of hostility. Considering its historical significance, artistic collaboration, and good condition, the estimated value of the punch bowl is...
So we think that this were to come to public auction in the condition that it's in, it would bring around $20,000 to $25,000.
Awesome, that's great.
The guest brought in a truly unique piece of fashion history, a complete Playboy Bunny costume from 1976. Candy, the former playmate, regaled the appraiser with her fascinating experiences at the Playboy Mansion and her time as a bunny. The costume itself wasn't just any outfit. It was the one she wore to win the coveted Playboy Bunny of the Year award at the Chicago Club. This special outfit came with a matching trophy, program from the pageant, and even the original name tag Candy sported that night. The costume is in such exceptional condition, unlike many bunny outfits that were likely returned to the clubs after use. Candy had managed to hold on to hers, making it a rare survivor. It was also crafted from a rare silver lame material, a significant departure from the more common satin costumes. The presence of the trophy, a program with celebrity autographs, and name tag further solidified the completeness and historical significance of the collection. These accompanying items not only added to the monetary value of the ensemble, but also provided a tangible connection to the era and the event itself. For instance, the program with autographs from celebrities like O.J. Simpson, Ringo Starr, and Milton Berle offered a glimpse of the star-studded audience that attended the televised pageant, a first of its kind. Taking all these factors into account, the estimated worth of the entire ensemble is...
So altogether here you have at least $8,200 to $11,300 worth of stuff.
Whoa, that's awesome!
However, in a recent auction, the value of the collection increased to $18,500 to $25,700. Flea market, for a mere $40, the guest scored a rare treasure, a North Carolina Proctor. The guest correctly identified it as a birth baptismal certificate and knew it was likely German. Proctor refers to both the lettering style and this specific type of folk art, and while most Proctors are Pennsylvania Dutch, this one originated from Rowan, North Carolina. The document detailed Philippina Garin's birth in 1911 and listed her parents and baptismal witnesses. North Carolina Proctors are uncommon, which makes this piece particularly impressive with the vibrant decorations like the parrots, pinwheel design, and flowering vines. While the folded condition, a commonality for Proctors kept in family Bibles, detracted somewhat from its value, the rarity outweighed that. Considering its origin and relatively good condition, its conservative auction estimate is
that conservatively an $8,000 to $10,000 estimate.
Whoa. Wow.
In a recent auction, the piece was auctioned for $15,000 to $25,000. We have here a beautiful pear-point lamp, a family heirloom with a couple of origin stories. The first story traced the lamp back to the guest's great-grandparents who settled in Wisconsin, while the other, more intriguing story involved the guest's grandfather winning it in a poker game on the Great Lakes. It is a pear-point lamp, well-known brand that originated in Massachusetts in the 1880s. This particular lamp was a type known as a pear-point puffy lamp, due to its characteristic bulging floral design. The lampshade further enhanced the beauty of the lamp. It depicted a charming garden scene with steps and urns on one panel and an elegant 16th century courting couple on the other. The floral and striped decorations on the sides and top added another layer of visual interest. The shade is identified as a rare Roma form. While the market for generic puffy lamps isn't as strong, the guest lamp is of exceptional quality with intricate details and excellent condition. Considering its rarity, exquisite craftsmanship, and good condition, the estimated value of the lamp is...
Full retail for insurance, you could say $15,000. Wow. And that even might be a little low. You could really stretch it if you wanted to $20,000. The money is in the shade.
From the Associated American Artist, these prints had been in the family of the guest for over 20 years. The Associated American Artist was a gallery opened in 1935 by a man named Reeves Lowenthal. He decided that art should also be for the middle class, not just the wealthy. Therefore, he and his team decided to commission 4 artists every year from 1939 to 1941 who would do a series of prints that they would sell by subscription. Reeves would choose a variety of American artists at random, but one was prominent, whose name was Thomas Benton. One of the prints by Benton shows a moving train with pedestrians trying to cross the railway line in a panic, and it is a very important print and well known. When his works come on the market individually, they sell for $4,500. There are prints by Reginald Marsh, and this will sell at $1,500 apiece. Luigi Luciani's prints would sell at $100 each because he was a remote painter, but made beautiful prints. Also, Ernest Finney's prints, if they came up on the market, would make about $50. Since 40 prints were presented on the show, this collection would bring a total of...
a value for the group of 40 of approximately $48,000.
This piece was given to the guest's father as payment for doing some electrical work for a Chinese gentleman in Washington, D.C. in 1957. It is a special Chinese magical scepter called a Ruyi scepter, meaning as you wish. The piece is 19th century and is a nephrite jade, one of the 2 types of jade. Having wonderful carvings, at the tail is a carving of a bat, which is the symbol of good luck in Chinese art. Further up is a qilon, like a baby dragon, which is a mythical animal in Chinese lore. At the top is a fantastic-looking landscape pattern, a limp fungus known as the fungus of immortality. Everything about this scepter means long life and good luck, and this scepter is not as white as other jades, though the color is beautiful. There will be a competition among collectors for this piece, and at auction, a conservative estimate would be...
This one, if I were to put in an auction, I would estimate it $1,500 to $2,500 as a conservative estimate. So what do you...
It's very good news.
This guest brought in her mother's doll, which she played with when she was little. It has beautiful eyes and original clothes made of silk, which have begun to deteriorate. Hence, the guest bought new clothes for it, but kept the old original clothes. Made in the 1920s to 1930s by Kessner in Germany, this doll has its original clothes, which improve on its value. The wig on its head is also original human hair, and the body composition is papier-mâché. Therefore, as long as it is not damaged, a reasonable estimate at auction would be
between $4,000 and $6,000.
Oh my goodness. I'm totally surprised. I would never have dreamed.
This icebox was purchased by the guest's mother at an auction. On opening, the inside is lead-lined, just as a real icebox. Also, there is the box that houses the ice and a drain at the bottom of the box. It is a salesman's sample and has never been appraised. At an auction, a fair estimate would be,
if something like this were to come up at auction, I would say this one's probably about a $2,000 salesman sample. Wow, that's great. Thank you very much.
This tea set is a family heirloom purchased during a sale.
This was my mother's. It's been on our family for about 45 years or so. She bought it at a tag sale.
It is a sterling Chinese silver tea set dating back to the early 20th century. The set is beautifully designed with dragons, an auspicious symbol in China, with a pearl at the center. The pearl usually bears the initials of the owner, but this one is left blank. Presented in perfect condition, this set is made of the highest quality Chinese silver. Its quality aside, this tea set holds great significance for Chinese silverware collectors who would buy it for,
I think at auction this would be $5,000 to $7,000.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Here is a superb example of a beer advertising sign which has everything about advertising and its paraphernalia. It is a fine example of what is referred to as reversed lithograph decal transfer on glass. This piece has beautiful graphics and colors that attract attention. There was a piece before this one sold in 1995 at auction for $2,500, but it wasn't in great condition like this one. An auction estimate for this beer advertising sign,
but not quite as good condition, sold in 1995 at auction for $2,500.
The guest brought in interesting items that belonged to Clara Bow. The first item is a Cartier metal post watch that is handmade in Art Deco style and enamel. It opens and closes, and on the back is the name Clara Bow. Another item is an anklet given to Clara Bow by a lover of hers, and her initials are on the cover and at the back. Also, scrambled inside the watch is a note written to Clara Bow from Daniel Freelman on her birthday on 29th of July, 1928. In this note, it's discovered that he actually stole the items from Clara Bow. The watch is wonderful, and at auction, these items would be worth
$3,000 to $4,000 for the whole series.
Wow. Whoa.
I think it's really wonderful.
This item was a gift received by the guest from her father-in-law. It is a rifle scabbard made out of buffalo hide. An estimated manufacturing date would be between the 60s to 70s. It is an Indian rifle scabbard, but was made in Montana, and an auction estimate would be
conservatively worth $6,000 to $8,000.
My goodness. Thank you very much.
This piece has been in the Guest family for over 100 years now. An Asian piece from the great samurai country of Japan. Even the figure sitting on the tiger has samurai swords, depicting its origins.
That's a Japanese robe, not a Chinese robe.
The tiger part of the piece has typical features of Japanese tigers.
Complete with the fierce look, the popping eyes.
The eyes on the tiger are what is referred to as decorated in enamels over a biscuit, which is unglazed. From the Meiji period, which is from about 1868 to 1880, this figure really has stood the test of time. The figure is perfectly detailed and still in good condition.
Even the sandals that he's wearing are perfectly detailed. Meiji porcelains, Japanese late 19th century porcelain.
Meiji porcelains of this type are in high demand at the moment due to their level of detail and provenance, and valued at,
I would say at auction $2,000 to $3,000 would not be a surprising price. It might bring more, considerably more.
Thanks.
From Scotland with love and fine craftsmanship, what we have on the show today is a well-crafted pottery piglet. This fine work of Scottish pottery was made on the east coast of Scotland, and it was commissioned by Wemyss Pottery
in Fifeshire by the firm of Robert Heron and Son, otherwise known as Wemyss Pottery.
The figure painted on the piglet is most certainly either one of the two South African protagonists during the Boer War.
The Boer War was one of England's skirmishes in the colonies that we had between about 1899 and 1902.
This piglet pottery could have either been a decorative piece or simply a piggy bank. But upon a closer inspection, it is deduced that this piece is a spirit flask due to the cork in its snout. A really rare piece. For it to sell at its best price, it would need to be sold in Scotland, in the region of
possibly fetch between $3,000 and $3,500.
Given to this guest by her father and warned not to dispose of it, this shell vase has been kept by her. A fine example of Victorian extravagance, the vase has a shell held up by coral and several tones of gold decoration.
There is some gold in the paint, yes, but they've used other materials to bind it.
Made by Royal Worcester circa 1880, this vase was a fairly expensive luxury item at the time. This particular vase is made of porcelain, as opposed to some others made during that time period, which were made with majolica.
So it was a fairly popular model when they made it.
Wow, it's beautiful.
At retail today, this fine piece of Victorian style, with its unique design, would be valued at
a retail price today would be around $400 to $600.
Well, the value to me is...
This stunning diamond necklace, a cherished heirloom, once belonged to the guest's great-aunt Virginia. Family lore suggested Virginia acquired the necklace around 1910 and may have even worn it while traveling to Europe on the Lusitania. The necklace is from the Belle Epoque period origin, with its delicate platinum setting and beautiful old mine-cut diamonds. The design maximized the sparkle of the diamonds, especially under candlelight, which was the primary source of illumination during that era. Also, the chain attached to the necklace is a later addition, replacing the original clasp. While this meant any hallmarks on the back were obscured, the overall design and craftsmanship suggested a possible French or Parisian origin. Given the necklace's age, good condition, and diamond quality, the estimated insurance replacement value on this piece is
conservatively $40,000 to $60,000 for insurance replacement value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guest inherited a beautiful Edwardian necklace from her grandmother. The necklace features a stunning 14-karat pink topaz, an exceptional size for this gemstone. Sometimes referred to as a Kleileman topaz for its deep pink color, the stone is a real showstopper. The necklace also boasts a surrounding halo of old mine diamonds and a strand of natural pearls. The design philosophy is less is more, where the focus is on the quality of the gemstones rather than the abundance of diamonds or metal. The necklace also included an interesting historical detail, the initials BBB, which upon inspection turned out to be the hallmark of Bailey, Banks, and Biddle. They are a prestigious Philadelphia jewelry company established in 1832. They were known as the Tiffany of Philadelphia. While the guest previously had the necklace appraised at $10,000, considering the exceptional pink topaz, the old mine diamonds, natural pearls, and the historical significance of the jeweler, the estimated auction value is
A piece like this would be $30,000 to $50,000.
I see. Fantastic.
Before us stands a figure that seems to evoke an ancient appeal. The guest bought this piece at an antique store.
And she says, just whatever you will offer, and I had $20 in my pocket.
This figure is said to be a Nariat figure, made by ancient West Mexican people, usually placed in tombs to accompany the deceased into the afterlife. We notice inconsistencies and lack of detail in this figure, indicating it is a modern replica of ancient Nariat figure.
This, and I want you to listen carefully for this. You hear how high-pitched that is? That's a sign.
Further questioning its authenticity is the use of paint or chemical treatments instead of natural patinas, a technique often used to make fake antiques. Despite being fake, this piece is still in excellent condition, which places this replica of remarkable ancient art at an auction value of
Normally, you'd see it, say, $50 to $100. So your $20 investment was a great one.
I would have paid that at Walmart for it.
There we go.
In a peculiar looking and compact table, it was given to this guest by a very close friend of hers. This table was made by Danish-American furniture designer named Jans Risum. Risum was one of the first designers to introduce Scandinavian design in the United States.
That is known for its pared down, simple, and honest, humble materials. What I like about this is it's really fantastic, good, honest, clean condition.
Typical of Risum's designs, this table is marked by its clean, straight lines and minimalist aesthetic. The wood used to make the table could either be teak or walnut, with every aspect of its design reflecting meticulous attention to detail and craftsmanship. This simple yet unique-looking table from one of the top contributors to modern furniture design would be valued at
If this piece sold for less than $1,500.
Oh my God. Thank you. That's really cool. That's so neat.
A toy of one of the more famous comic strip characters from the 1920s, Andy Gump. This character was drawn by a man named Sidney Smith. The toy was made by Arcade Manufacturing Company based in Illinois and was made using cast iron. It's quite rare to see metal toys still with their original boxes like this one. The car had the number 348 on it, which has a history behind it.
Sidney Smith's first comic character was Doc Yak. Doc Yak had a car that he bought at a junkyard for $3.48, and that's what it was called. So this was originally Doc Yak's car. It became Andy Gump's.
And the paint used for the toy is absolutely top-notch. The rarity of having a metal toy of this quality still with its original box would put its valuation at.
This toy in 1992 would have been worth every bit of $6,000.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The same thing it's worth today.
Really?
It's quite rare to see original drawings like this. But what's even more interesting is the painting represents the pinnacle of Danish expertise. This drawing was created by a Danish designer, Erik Magnusson. The drawing is called a cubic coffee set and was done in 1927.
Because he was already a world-renowned silver designer, by Gorham in 1925 for just a brief period, 1925 to 1929.
It was created to model a motif by Picasso and other expert painters.
This is the artist rendering before, presumably, the coffee set was made. The coffee set was made, it was heralded by the New York Times as being the lights and the beauty of New York City, or Manhattan.
The drawing is quite dramatic, given a certain appeal to its admirer. This is arguably the most magnificent piece of work done by Erik. At an auction, this masterpiece would be sold at the price of
Minimum of $10,000 to $15,000 in the auction market today.
Wow. That's surprising. That's great.
This sword is quite a piece of history. It was used during the American Civil War. The sword is over 150 years old and has still maintained its quality. It was made by a firm called William McElroy.
William J. McElroy made swords for the Confederacy, and if you had enough money, you could actually go in and he would make you a specific sword.
The name of the sword's owner is engraved on the sword's surface.
It says J. Knight Jr., J-U-N.
Okay.
And the grip looks quite firm for an item that should normally have rusted. It is quite a masterpiece crafted in sword form. At a suitable auction, this Civil War sword would fetch the price of.
The sword today would retail for about $10,000.
Really? Wow.
This is an absolutely surreal engraving. It looks so realistic and yet so detailed, it must have been done by a master artist. Luckily, it was crafted by Giorgio Ghisi.
He was the patriarch of a family of engravers out of Mantua in central Italy,
who was known as the Renaissance master of Italy because of his superior engravings. The engraving was made after a painting by another expert called Angelo Bronzino. Angelo's painting style was quite unique and appealing to many people. This painting is quite famous for its creators, who were highly revered by many painters. Because of the beauty of this item, it would retail at the price of,
at auction, for between $15,000 and $20,000.
Oh my God.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it sold for more. I think
Are
that's
you
conservative.
serious?
This magnificent work of sculpture was done by a famous artist. The artist in question is particularly famous for his work on Mount Rushmore, Gutzon Berglund. This piece was exhibited at the St. Louis Exposition of 1904. The sculpture is of the final emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, Nero.
It's maybe a different image than most folks know of Nero.
As a regal emperor
That's true.
ruling his domain.
Right.
And is duly signed and dated by Berglund. Cast in bronze, it is hard to know how many of these pieces were created, as it was never documented.
The actual archives of the Roman bronze works are at the Ammon-Carter Museum, and you might be able to contact them. They have the records.
The piece has some greening on it due to corrosion, which is advised to be checked by professional conservators. Although it is not one of the works one would typically associate with Berglund, it is nonetheless of a historical figure, and in a gallery setting would be valued at
in the $6,000 to $8,000 price range.
Right? That's wonderful.
The guest scored a lucky find at an estate sale, a work by French artist Auguste Herbin for just $200. The piece is identified as a gouache painting, a type of opaque water-based paint created in 1950. Urban began his career in the early 20th century deeply influenced by the Cubist movement that shattered traditional forms and perspectives. Alongside giants like Picasso and Braque, Urban explored the fragmentation and reassembly of objects, a technique evident in some of his early works. After the war, Urban continued to experiment with different styles. He dabbled in abstract and representational styles, reflecting the artistic movements of the time. Around 1938, a new influence emerged, the Italian Trecento, a period known for its emphasis on geometric forms and simplified compositions. This influence is evident in the guest's painting, where clean lines and bold colors take center stage. Urban's fascination with geometry deepened, leading him to create his plastic alphabet in 1942. This artistic innovation assigned specific geometric shapes to letters, and sometimes imbued colors with additional meaning. The hidden message in the painting could not be deciphered, but that didn't diminish its value. The work was a testament to Urban's artistic evolution and exploration. Considering the artist's acclaim, the date of creation, and the overall quality of the work, the estimated retail gallery value of the painting is...
It might sell for something like $30,000 or $35,000.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The guest brought in a fascinating relic, a cartridge pouch they believe to be from the Civil War. The pouch is actually much older, dating back to the Revolutionary War. This cartridge pouch, crafted for a British soldier in the 43rd Light Infantry, had potentially witnessed pivotal battles that shaped the course of American history. It is still in exceptional condition, and it has survived over 2 centuries with nearly all its original components intact, including the leather shoulder sling, the cleaning pick hook used to clear musket barrels, the brass plate emblazoned with the designation 43rd Light Infantry, the red cloth backing that added a touch of color, the solid wooden block that provided structure, the closure tab that ensured the pouch remained shut, and even the metal finial at the bottom. Finding all these elements together in such good condition was incredibly rare, making the pouch a true collector's prize. While a Civil War cartridge pouch might fetch around $1,500, the Revolutionary War provenance and excellent condition of this item skyrocketed its value to a staggering...
This one on today's market would retail for between $20,000 and $25,000.
My Lord.
What you are looking at here is a unique and intriguing piece of art, a painting by the legendary musician Frank Zappa. This wasn't just any painting, it was a work created during Zappa's junior college years, making it a very rare early glimpse into his artistic talent. It's a fascinating imagery of an orchestra and possibly an opera scene, hinting at Zappa's future musical career, known for its theatrical and complex arrangements. This piece held immense significance because it was not only an early artwork by a beloved musician, but it was also believed to be the very first piece of Zappa's art ever encountered by the appraiser in their 30 years of experience. The unique nature of the painting made it difficult to assign a fixed value. However, considering Zappa's fame, the scarcity of his artwork, and the historical significance of this particular piece, the estimated value is...
I would say it's somewhere in the $15,000 to $25,000 range.
Wow.
Have you ever seen such a fascinating piece of history? What we have here is a National Republican chart from the 1860 presidential campaign. This informative chart, published by H.H. Lloyd shortly after Abraham Lincoln's nomination, wasn't a typical campaign poster, but rather a commercially produced piece. There is a lot of historical context surrounding this chart, especially the central issue of slavery and its expansion westward. The chart visually depicted the free states, slave states, and the disputed territories in question, making a clear statement against the spread of slavery. The chart's significance stemmed from its direct connection to a pivotal moment in American history. Very few such charts still exist in such good condition today, perhaps less than 100 worldwide. The fact that the guest's chart had been professionally conserved to maintain its stability further increased its value. Considering its rarity, historical importance, and excellent condition, the estimated retail value of the chart is remarkable.
I would expect this to have a value of about $14,000.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The guest brought in a delightful piece of pop culture history. 3 chipmunk puppets, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. They were created by the father-in-law of the guest, who himself had performed with them on iconic shows like The Ed Sullivan Show and American Bandstand. They held great significance, having been created by Ross Bagdasarian, stage name Dave Seville. They were not only puppets, but also the first animated singing group to achieve chart-topping success with their hit Witch Doctor, better known as the Chipmunk Song. Despite the niche market for puppets in general, the cultural importance of these particular puppets cannot be overemphasized. Having been featured on national television and remaining popular for decades, they transcended ordinary toys and became a symbol of American entertainment. While acknowledging the puppets' lack of perfect storage over the years, they are in excellent condition and have unique details like the initials on their shirts. Given their historical significance and cultural impact, the estimated value, not for selling but for insurance purposes, is
I would certainly put no less than a $10,000 insurance value on them. Worth every bit of that. I mean,
for the three of
them? For the three of them.
A beautiful piece of pottery, a vase believed to be from an Ohio artist, was brought in by the guest. Some surprising facts about the vase is that it is actually a product of the arts and crafts movement created sometime between 1905 and 1915. More importantly, it wasn't made in Ohio, but by the renowned Gruby Pottery of Boston, Massachusetts. What made this vase special is that Gruby Pottery was known for its high-quality, organic-looking pieces, often glazed to resemble vegetables like cucumbers or squash. This particular vase had a beautiful green glaze, the most sought-after color by collectors. The handcrafted details, like the individually applied leaves and unique ivory buds, further increased its value. While a few small chips brought down the value slightly, the estimated worth is remarkable.
I would estimate that conservatively these days at $4,500 to $6,500.
Oh, wonderful.
Purchased for his daughter, who desired to learn piano lessons, this guest is on the show with an old guitar for appraisal. He acquired it for $800 at the time. It is a Gibson L7 guitar from the 1940s. This guitar is very original with all parts intact. Also, the strings are in good condition and it comes with its original case, and a retail price would be
I would put it somewhere between $3,500 and $4,500. Gosh.
This is a clock that was purchased in 1780 by the guest's parents and is brought in for appraisal. The clock was made by William Ferguson of Hennick's. One interesting thing about the clock is the large image and the size. Ferguson was a well-known wall clock maker in the 17th century, but the case was carved at a later date, and this kind of carving is not sought after in the market. Hence, an auction price for the piece would be around.
A clock like this would sell on a retail level from $3,500 to $4,000.
Okay.
The piece inherited from her mother, purchased by her grandmother in the early 1950s, is brought in by the guest. The painting was bought during an exhibition from the artist whose name is on the painting as E.M. Floyd. E.M. Floyd was known as a China painter, which was uncommon at the time, but she had great talents. However, the original painting is in Paris, hanging in the Musée d'Orsay, and was painted by one of the well-known French academic painters in the 19th century by the name William Bouguereau Moreau. The original painting was larger than the one presented and was called L'Assault in French, which means on the painting, the central figure, which represents the youth, is being assaulted. It is a celebrated painting in the French academic tradition. Hence, this decorative painting on porcelain, done in a semi-amateur manner, would not sell well in the market, but a fair insurance value would be.
And I think if we were to put an insurance value on it, we'd have to go as high as $2,500.
I think so too. Thank you very much. And I'm expecting the Louvre to call me at any time and say, please send it. And I'll say you may borrow it.
The guest brought in his dad's watch that was received after his 35 years of service in 1929. It is a Hamilton watch made by the Hamilton Company, and the model is called a Pacer, an innovative watch made with a modern idea that you won't have to wind the watch again as far back as 1957 to 1966. But the problem is that the watch movement was not fail-proof, so it failed. What makes Hamilton watches collectible is because Hamilton allowed other companies to put their logo on the watches. This watch is particularly rare because all the numerals on the watch are screws and bolts, which was the product of the company that gifted the guest's father. Watch collectors would love this piece, and at an auction, a reasonable price would be.
Today, the collectors, particularly the Hamilton Electric collectors, will go crazy for this. $2,000, maybe $2,200 for a watch like this.
6 large paintings, which were done by the guest's great-great-aunt, are brought on the show. The guest also brought along a photograph of the artist to corroborate their story. This painting is known as immigrant art. Immigrant art can be explained as a house painter who was trained to paint on fake wood or marble. The paintings are decorations for a building as you would see in houses around California and in the West. It was a tradition that came to America in the 1850s to 1860s, and these pieces would be worth around.
The value of these, I would say about $300 to $500 a piece.
That's interesting to know.
Acquired about 20 years ago at a flea market for $20, this Demetisi cup and saucer are brought in for appraisal. The guest loved collecting Demetisi items, hence she got this cup and saucer, which are from the White Star Line, a British shipping company. After seeing the movie Titanic, where she saw flashes of this dinnerware, she concluded it was worth more. There are numbers at the bottom of each piece referring to the British registration system, and the date of manufacture is 1906. Most British ships had china with this pattern, but this particular pattern is known as Westero pattern, and it's possible it was on the Titanic. Another thing to note is that this piece comes in different variations and sizes, which determines the price. At an auction, this dinnerware would be worth about...
For the cup and saucer, at auction, we're looking at $500 to $700. So not bad for a $20
No,
purchase.
I think so. I think that's very nice to know.
The guest's father, a German immigrant and art lover, collected the art that appealed to him. After moving to the U.S. during the war, he collected this piece of Maurice Utrillo, which the guest has owned for over 30 years. The appraiser detailed Utrillo's life, mentioning his painter mother, Suzanne Valadon, and his struggles with illness and alcoholism. The painting was notably signed by Maurice Utrillo at the bottom, adding an authentic touch to the artwork's overall value and provenance. Utrillo, who had no formal training, often painted Paris scenes from his window during the 1930s. The painting featured Montmartre and the Galette in the background, and the appraiser noted that these scenes remain prevalent in Montmartre today, highlighting the authenticity and timelessness of Utrillo's work. The appraiser praised the finesse and detailing of the painting, noting the French flag at the top and the figures ascending the alleyway. It was an oil painting, evident from the thumbtack marks where Utrillo would pin the paper to a board while he worked on it. The appraised artwork, an oil on paper from the James Vignon Gallery in Los Angeles, was estimated between...
I think that this would bring at auction somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 to $120,000.
The guest brought a set of boxes that she had acquired from her brother. The items were identified as snuff boxes due to their attractiveness. The boxes featured a type of enamel called guilloche, creating a silk-like appearance. The appraiser explained that the enamel layers over the engraved surface patterns create varying light and dark effects. These boxes had Austrian hallmarks dating them to around 1800 to 1820. Additionally, another series of marks indicated that they were imported into France. The boxes were considered highly collectible due to their enameling and historical context. The third box, featuring an enamel portrait of Napoleon, was identified as a jewel box. Based on desirability, the value suggested was...
At auction, if these were going to come up for auction, I would imagine that these would have a pre-sale estimate of between $2,500 and $3,500 a piece.
Okay.